Good morning and Happy New Year. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm your host, Bob Pace, and I have a secret, and it's how to fight CPS and win. And for some of you that may not know what CPS stands for, it's the Child Protection Services. That's what CPS. It's a branch of social services. Anyway, I'm being hosted by Vincent W. Davis. He's a attorney. He's a family law attorney, and he can help you with your legal matters. He is a trial attorney too, and he'd love to hear from you. The number to call in for various things is 888-888-6582. And it's on the screen, and you can call in and um, ask to speak to him. He'll give you a free 30-minute up to an hour consultation, and he'll talk about strategies, how to help you with your case with CPS. Also, I like you all your listeners out there to listen, to call in and want to be a guest speaker. It helps me to have people from different parts of the country. We've had lots of different people. We've had people from California, which I'm in the Southern California area, and but we've had people from Pennsylvania, New York, Maryland, and New Mexico, and Texas, and so forth. There's about 100 some people that I've heard tell about the story about what is wrong with CPS, and I also like to hear what is right with CPS. I like to hear successful stories too. But if you call in, you get a chance to tell your story. Maybe I can help you out with some question and answers. I'm not an attorney, but I have a wealth of experience with CPS. My family went through it, about 7 years ago, and it took about 3 years before the two of my three children were returned. And it's a horrific experience to be caught with CPS. And I thought I'd talk a little bit about, since we have no guest speaker, we had one arranged, but they didn't show. We've had a couple of no shows, so hopefully we'll have other ones down the road there. But um, Social Services is a federal agency that's mandated to help people in needs and help families. And the branch of it in California is called the CPS, the Child Protection Services. And their purpose is to protect your children. And um, they are, will handle the cases. And how these cases get started is the most, it's like out of the blue. Sometimes people don't know when they're coming. But when people make allegations, these can be family members and professionals by law are required to report anything suspicious about your children. And they have to investigate. They're required to investigate. And the sad part about it is the allegations are presumed true, and then you have to prove you're innocent. Where in most law cases, like in civil matters, you're innocent till you're proven guilty. And so, that being said, it's an uphill battle sometimes for a lot of parents and grandparents and sisters and brothers trying to intervene. And a lot of people try to help. But the sad part about it, in my experiences with CPS, which is the one I'm dealing with, is Orange County. LA is the same way, but it's turned into be a money making business. And you're probably terrible to hear about that, but they get money every time they have a child in custody, or they put a child in a group home or in a foster home, and they get lots and lots of money, and they have coffers to feed. The office where CPS is located in Orange County is I call the Taj Mahal. It's a big, beautiful glassy building, great architect. You go inside, it's very fancy, it's state of the art, this and that. And I've met everybody from the top dog all the way down to management people. And uh, you think their goal is to do what's called family unification, but I did not see it in my case. In fact, when my case started, it got worse as every day went on. And the more you fight with them, the more you show them what they're wrong or you try to dispute what's alleged, the harder they get on you. They make it really miserable. Their goal is to alienate you from your family, from try to have you break up with your wife, how you to break up with lose your kids and everything else. Um, my whole thought process on the whole thing, and I'd like to interject this, is that when there's something that is harmful happen to our children, yes, it's important we investigate that. But when there isn't anything, or the things that did happen got blown out of proportion, that can be corrected with taking parenting classes or things like that. There should be weekly meetings among the family members, among the attorneys, and around the social workers and the professionals, the therapists, the counselors. And yes, I mentioned attorneys. You'll find that in this arena, you need an attorney. You cannot fight it on your own. I've tried, and I'm pretty good at doing a lot of legal matters myself, especially in small claims construction and so forth. But um, it's something that's like if you're are sick, you're have a sickness, trying to cure it yourself or diagnose yourself, you can't. You have to go to a professional. And that being said, is that the professionals are doctors. So in this case, you need to get an attorney. The attorney will help you your strategies. They will help you, and I don't mean necessarily the public defenders. Yes, they offer you a public defender, but that public defender is case loaded. He has 20 plus cases, and he only has 5 minutes of his time, so he's not going to give you the best representation. Plus, they do wheels and deals in the courtroom. The courtroom are not for you. You don't go into the courtroom. You stand out in the hallways, which are standing room only. You don't really have seating spaces. They're overcrowded. There's lots of cases. And yes, there are bad, terrible cases. Horror stories about children being injured intentionally, horror stories about them given drugs, and so forth like that. And speaking of drugs, you as parents can't do any illegal drugs if you have minors in your home. It's against the law. As soon as you start doing drugs, they'll take your children away from you. I know that there's some talk about the latest drug, marijuana, and what are the pros and cons. Again, talk to your attorney. Talk to people that know the law and so forth on there, because CPS's intent is to get your child into custody. And they're not afraid to take your child from your home. They can take your child right away with no warning. They don't, and they can't go in your home without your permission. You don't have to talk to them, which I think is the best advice. Is talk to your attorney first. He'll tell you what you say and can say, or what you can do or not do. And yes, the attorneys do cost money. There's a retainer fee, but their work and their knowledge of the system, most of them are really good attorneys, and they know how to go through. There's a lot of good um, family law attorneys, and I believe Vincent W. Davis is one of the best. And I encourage you. Okay, um, the number to call in again is 888-888-6582. I saw a message come up on the screen. I didn't get a chance to read it. If you could write that again, that'd be much appreciated, because I like to answer. Okay, there it is. And we had two attorneys that still didn't help. Our attorneys are getting so frustrated with the system. I agree with you. Whoever the thing is, we're in Illinois, I believe this is one of the worst states. They definitely don't help. Well, I know Illinois might be bad, but so is California. So is all these other places. Yes. Okay. So you've tried two attorneys. Not all the attorneys are great. Not all of them are as thorough as Vincent W. Davis is. And the reason why I mention his name is because this is the show that's being presented by him, and I'm just the host. And but You have to keep trying. If your attorney does not give you things you feel comfortable about, then what you need to do is you need to get another attorney. And there's nothing wrong with switching attorneys. Now, if these attorneys are the key to find a good attorney, and you can Google it. There's so much Google that would help you. I did not think about Google. I don't know why I didn't, but there's a lot that Google can show you. But when you look for an attorney or a law firm, you want to know, first of all, have they had experience with family law and winning cases with CPS? If the answer is no, then you don't want to stick with them. You don't want to be a guinea pig. You want an attorney with a proven track record. One of the best ways to do it is when you talk to an attorney, ask them who their clients have been so you can talk to their clients. You need to do some investigation yourself. And the first step when the allegations are made, um, they are related to two things. Um, when the when the investigation is the reasons that CPS, and this is California, is that they're looking for the willful cruelty or unjustified punishment. That would be something physical. So it's physical is the one area, and then they also another form of child abuse is exploited sexually. That means if a child is used by adult for sexual gratifications, or they want to take pictures and sell them on the internet, or the horrible things you hear about. Another area, the reason they can take you, a child is neglected by a parent or a caretaker who fails to provide adequate food, clothing, shelter, medical care, or supervision. Those are the primary reasons that CPS in California can take your children away here. It's the same true in other states. Now, the person that texted me that from Illinois, who said they had two attorneys, I wish you'd call in and we could discuss it further because I've got to find out what happened, what strategies. I don't know. This is the first time I've talked to someone in Illinois, but I don't know what CPS is doing there. But you got to keep in mind how it all started, how it all happened. Were you represented by an attorney at this very start of it, or did you get an attorney later on? That's the hard part. On my case, when the attorney, when the alleges came in, and it was by family members, I had no idea it was family members, and it kept repeating itself time, month after month, and I did talk to them. I talked to them outside my home, and I talked to them and tried to answer all their questions, concerns. They actually came to school one time, asked the parents to come to school, and they thought they had something. But when they talked to our children, they found out the allegations were not true, and it was a whole drama fade. The school was apologetic. This is the problem. It's hard to determine when abuse or neglect takes place because, excuse me, I'm still fighting this cold. I thought it'd be over by now, but yeah, sometimes these winter colds take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Anyway, um, I thought for sure that this thing would end. But if I knew back then, because it was my wife's side of the family, and it's basically her mother and her sister. She had several sisters that would call in and make horrendous stories like, oh, we don't pay for the electricity or the gas. And I have all the utility bills to support that we do pay for electricity and gas. Or the kids are not clean, they don't take showers. Well, when the social service people inspected our children, they found they were clean and healthy. They had their own living space, their own bedroom that was kept organized and clean. The rest of the house, yes, we had our area that was really hurting was because I had stepped in to help out my mom and dad are dying, and take their belongings out of the home because they had to sell the home. And my sister lived in Hawaii, and no other family members around, and some of the family members expressed interest. So, like, and and also at that time, I was looking for work. I got That's a whole different story there. I'll talk about that later. But um, I took all the belongings, and then they're in boxes, and I stacked them 3 boxes high, and they were afraid that those boxes would jump and attack our children. Even though they tried to find things, but they really couldn't find anything. Yes, we did have arguments, me and my wife. That's domestic violence. Arguing with another person is really, really, really bad. And then I want to touch out on something called, um, let me see if I think I had it here. Where was it? Uh, um, I think I had it here. Um, I like to talk about alienation, and you're probably wondering what in the world is that. And Some of you may know what that is, or there's a thing called parental alienation is a form of child abuse. See, a lot of people think it's slapping a child or poking a child or locking them in a closet, not feeding them and stuff like that. But parent alienation is child abuse. And that's where one parent tries to dissuade the children to that the other parent's bad. What you want to do, and this is the hardest thing to do in relationships, is first of all, you don't want to discuss your differences or problems with the children around. It's a sad part of fair, but you really can't, and you don't want to argue. You have to do a timeout, just like you give your children timeout. Parents need a timeout when they're arguing or saying mean things. Things are hurting the children. The children hear that, and you don't want to have parents pit against them. They're a loving mother, loving father, and the loving mother and loving father love their children. There's no question, all you love your children, and you would do anything to keep your children. But sometimes we let other things get in our way. We have a hard time differentiating, and we have a hard time doing timeouts. So if a heated exam going to do that, you do a timeout. And that's with anything in life. If you're with your boss and you're having a heated argument, it's best to excuse yourself, take a timeout because you don't want to jeopardize losing your job. And so this thing called parent alienation is something that is child abuse. And it also will cause a lifetime of psychological harm to a child if they hear one parent talking bad about the other parent. And it also interferes with their future relationships. You'll find out that abuse goes on from generation to generations. I don't know if all of you out there and the person that texts me from Illinois, um, how you were brought up and what you had to do. Because again, no one is given a manual. When you're a mother and father and you get married, they don't give you a manual that says how to raise children. There used to be an author, I think it was Dr. Spock, in the 40s and 50s that my parents used to talk about. And there was a book to tell you about when kids should go to bed, when they're not should go to bed, and how to do this, how to do that. There are a lot of information out there, and you're free to look at it and explore it. But what may work for one may not work for another. There is no shortcut or manual. So we will all have hiccups in life. There's nothing wrong with taking additional parent skills and so forth. In high schools now, they're starting to do programs where the boys carry a pillow to see what it is about being pregnant because uh, teenage pregnancy is always on the rise, and it's easier for guys to sit there. Okay, yeah, it felt really good. That's all my responsibility, and then the poor girl is stuck with this baby, And yesterday, or was the day before yesterday, I was speaking to a grandmother who was trying to get her 2 grandchildren back, and she had a daughter, and she said her choice of man was wrong, and her daughter was in love with a guy who's incarcerated in prison. Maybe she wanted to help him out or something, but she ended up giving her rights to her children away because she had drug addiction, she had problems, and so the grandmother was explaining something that was repeating itself, and it was so hard because she said, "I love my grandchildren. I want to see them grow up. I want to see them. They're only 2 years old right now." So, and then her own daughter is no longer wants to do with her mother. So it's a very complicated process. But if you have a good attorney, I mean a good attorney is not afraid to answer questions. And I know one thing, if you talk to an attorney and you sit there, I want to hear some references. I want to hear people that you've won cases for. Or are you a family law attorney? How long have you been a family law attorney? Those are questions you need to know how to pick a good family law attorney. And uh, I wish I had picked actually, my wife's the one that found the attorney for me. And she said, give him a try. And that's when I met him. But he came in after the damage was done. We already had our day in court, and there was already a plan in place. Our kids were being put into a group home. And we had family members at first that thought that would help us. And again, um, the social services was so mean and nasty, they got the police involved because they could not meet with me. They were so thing, and this, so they made allegations up. They made stories that there must have been something horrible coming, because when it happened to me back in May, there were 15 people there. And I said, 15 people to do what? And I was followed by a detective in an unmarked car, and I was going to pick up my wife after I picked up my son at school, and this guy followed me for 10 miles into town, and finally a black and white went by me, and he turned to make a U-turn, and he put his lights on. I said, "Oh great, what did I do now?" And so the guy sit there and said, "Do you know you ran a stop sign?" I said, "Well, where was that?" "Oh, it was about 10 miles back." I said, "Well, why didn't you pull me over?" He says, "Well, I didn't really see it. The detective that wants to talk to you saw it." And I said, "Okay, but if you didn't see it, how are you able to give me I said, "Give me a citation." He said, "I can't do that. Let this detective talk to you." It was really, one thing I hate to say about the police department, they are doing a job that is a hard job. Being a policeman is a hard job. You're dealing with multi ethnic races, especially where I live. It's a cosmopolitan California of a multitude of different people, different cultures, different lifestyles, with the influx of the Colombians, the Peruvians, the Brazilians, the Panamanians, the Costa Ricans, the Mexicans. We have a hodgepodge. I mean, there are 10,000 people crossing our border. And of course, that's a whole separate issue, and there's politics involved in that. And one person wants closed borders, one wants open borders. I say we should have our borders open, but have people do what they did at the beginning of time. I don't know if maybe you read history or whatever it is, but I remember that people had to sit at Ellis Island before they could come to New York. They would come from overseas. The Irish people were stricken with potato famine. There was harsh laws there. They were poor, starving. And yes, America has always represented the land of freedom. Why do people want to come to California so much? Because it's a sunshine state. We have pretty good weather year round. We have great road systems, and it's easy to get around, and we have jobs. And now the jobs are getting to the point where now we're up to $20 an hour minimum wage in California. And that's a lot of money. But then again, the food is McDonald's is $10 for a hamburger. So money is really is really important. But we have this area of uh, child protection services that we don't quite understand. None of us really do. I mean, it took me, till now to finally see the green light that what we need to do is we need to first get judges that are elected. You need judges that deal with family law. The judge in my case was a great person for judging auto collisions, but he knew nothing about repairing families. He knew nothing about family reunification, and it was never their goal. Even though they said that it was their intent, it was never their goal. The problem is the court systems are corrupt. The um, the attorneys, the public defenders, and the social workers, and the therapists, and the judge are all in cahoots with each other. They go they go out together, they golf together, they have meals together, they socialize together. And what goes on in the courts is terrible. I guarantee if parents were allowed to sit in there and not say anything, if they did say something, to be asked to leave the court. But they should let parents sit in court. That's wrong because they don't see what goes on or the wheeling and dealings and so forth. And if you don't have a good attorney, you're going to get screwed because they're going to make the deals on your behalf. And then you have to be stuck with the deal they give you. And they'll come out and talk to you for, well, public defenders will give you maybe 5 minutes. If you're paying an attorney, he's got to give you time because you're paying for it. It's like anything else, it's got to be a good attorney. And in the Illinois case, if those two attorneys didn't work out, you may have to get a third attorney or a fourth attorney. You may have to Google it, but you have to really screen and qualify the attorneys that you want. Again, Vincent W. Davis, who presents this show here, is an excellent family law attorney. He worked in other states. He's a trial attorney. That means he has experience doing trials. And the number to reach and call in is 888-888-6582. And if you want to speak with him, he'll give you 30 minutes up to an hour, no charge, and he'll lay the strategies. And it's a valuable 1 hour time you spend because you at least know the strategies. You may say you need to hire an attorney or you may need to change the venue. There's things I didn't even know about. There's something called the Indian Rights Act, and I forgot the acronym for it, but it's where if you are a member of a native tribe of Indians, you'll find out that all the reservations, all the Indian lands are run by the Indian tribal members. That's why they can have gambling on their land. That's why you see all these casinos grow up and stuff like that. They can do legalized gambling and so forth. And it's the way for them to make some money to help out the tribe. The only bad part is that most of the tribe is not looked upon and they're mostly alcoholic or trances and don't work. I mean, I spent a lot of time at the Rosebud Reservation because I'm a Lakota Sioux. And you say, oh, how can a blonde hair, white skin be a Lakota Sioux? Well, my great great grandmother married my great great grandfather, and he was from Norway, Bergen, Norway. And he is a Viking. He has Viking heritage. He had the blondest hair and the palest skin. And I guess because of the generations, your skin gets diluted a little bit. And the blonde hair, I think, came from my great great grandfather because my dad and my grandpa um, don't have blonde hair. They had brown hair, but maybe the genes are. Anyway, I'm Lakota Sioux, and I also was trying to find out if I could have my kids looked after the reservation because they'll handle their own, and they're a lot more workable, a lot more justification. They will help, but I didn't know about that. You know, there's things that you don't know about, and you find about it's too late. There really is. There's things out there. The court system to be wrong. One time, we were working in court and we're trying to keep our daughter, and she wanted to be living with my wife's sister. And my wife's sister said, oh, we have a loving relationship with her husband and there's no domestic violence goes on. Well, there was several incidents, and the social worker knew about it. The social worker who we had was very young, in her early 20s. I don't know what kind of experience she had to deal with a family, but she's more interested in her new Gucci purse than she was helping us. She never really gave the time of day, and she worked on bonuses. That's another thing. There's lots of things that go behind the scenes. Child Protection Services in the Orange County give bonuses to their employee. They can get the child to be adopted or be foster care because money by the federal government and by the state is given to the child to reach 18. So, you hear about foster care being so nice, they want to help it, but a lot of foster cares are foster cares that can't have children, they want children. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's alternative motives there. I was speaking with one grandmother that was talking about how this one foster care parent took her first child and then her second grandchild. And all she wanted, because she didn't have any children, she wanted children. And her husband, by the way, was a sex offender. And their husband didn't really, I mean, social service didn't care if he was a sex offender. This is this is so it's like she said that she had to call the child protective services on the foster care people because the child protective did nothing. So it's a broken system and needs to be addressed. And we need to let Congress know. I mean, right now, Congress has enough headaches as it is. They have the two wars, Israel and Ukraine, they're trying to fund, and now they're held hostage because they have to decide what to do about the border crossing, where our current administration and Biden's at the helm stop what Donald Trump was doing. And I'm not trying to say Donald Trump's better than Biden or vice versa. My position here, but I'm just trying to say it's that he was trying to build a wall to self-contain. I don't know if a wall is going to help people. If they want to come here, they do it. But you do what they did at Ellis Island, New York. You find a place and you set up, and we have lots of open spaces in Texas and Arizona and California. Yes, they're not really nice open spaces, a lot of it's desert, but all the money is wasted can be used to build these facilities, and they can be kind of an education system. I mean, they come there, they learn. The first tip is to learn the common language of the nation, and our language is English. I know that certain cities, like in Monterey Park, many years ago, they had to take a vote that English is the native language because so many signs were being put up in other languages or other things. There's nothing wrong with representing where you come from or have your town or so forth. And there's little Vietnam and little Tokyo and little Mexico and all these little cities there. And as I say, there's nothing wrong with it. But when you talk to most of these people, like the mayor of one of the cities bordering Texas is a Mexican, and he says, "What's happened to the rules that say you have to learn English as a language? And you also, besides English, you have to learn the government and the history of this country. How are you going to be in this country if you don't know how it works? If you don't know the legislative branch, the judicial branch, if you don't know the branches of government or how Congress works, how the senators work, how representatives work, how can you make changes?" And so this goes back. We need to make changes in CPS. We need to make CPS as a friendly place, family friendly place. We don't have to seem that everybody out there is a witch hunter or a child abuser or a killer of children. No, there are people that along the roads of their life have hiccups. And some of it's through no fault of their own. It may be something they've learned that's passed on from generation to generation, or maybe it's from the country they came from. Maybe they do parenting skills different in some places like Peru or stuff. But I know that most parents, I've never really talked to a parent that says they hate their children or I don't love my children, or I don't want to do what's best for them. They all do, mothers and fathers. I just wish fathers would take more responsibility for the children that they create. It takes two to create a child, as I remember. Yes, I know there's the test tube babies and we have the cloned sheep and everything. But besides the scientific thing, I think that is that we also have religion. And I'm not here to preach religion, but, um, you know, uh, a man and woman were created, they say, and a man and woman that were created to have children, to go out and procreate and to have children and to make a world a better place. And if we respect our land that we're in and respect each other, it'd be better off. And so with CPS, once you get that valuable attorney, and I wish I had my day one because I trusted CPS, I trusted the police department. And I told them everything because I had nothing to hide. I said, yes, I'm out of work. I'm looking for work. I lost my job at 60. I'm 74 now. I had a job and they did the same thing. It's like when you get a certain age, people perceive you're not worth it. And they don't want to spend the money for benefits and things like that, which I think is wrong because my years of experience are a lot. And I can do a lot. I've worked in construction for heavy highway and civil engineering for 40 years. I've worked as an estimator, which is a senior estimator, which gets generate work. So I can generate $150 million a year. We make good profit on the jobs. And I make profit on the jobs I manage. I'm a project manager, senior project manager. Lately, I've been working as a senior construction inspector, and I inspect the jobs that make sure they're put together right. The storm drain system, the sewer system, the testing that's done, the gas system, the electrical, the concrete, all the things that go into building a road, landscaping, irrigation, street lights, signal lights, and all those things there. I've worked all over Orange County, LA County, as far north as Santa Barbara, as far south as San Diego. And with all my years' experience, I'm very valuable, but they think that, oh, you're too old. And how they know you're too old? Well, I try to keep myself young. I still work out. I still get my gills wet, meaning surf. And I don't get on a skateboard as much as balancing because that's important to have that balance. Because whether you're snowboarding or skiing or surfing, you need that balance, and that balance helps a lot and so forth. But I try to do that, and I, stay fit. I'm a member of a club, and I do my workouts with my trainer. I used to play football in college and high school. I love football, and my son just finished his fourth year of football, and his football program was, wow, 2 weeks off a year, 6 days a week, 7 in the morning to 7 o'clock at night, with academics in between. I just cannot believe a school that was so emphasized. They were doing a D1 school in high school, and of course the team is the best in the country. They've beaten everybody in the country, and so it was a great experience. But sports is good, so I keep myself physically fit and so forth. But trying hard to keep a job, and so that was what was going through my time, is that I didn't have a job, and so you tell the policeman your story, and you say that the reason why you see the belongings or the personal things or things look cluttered, and yes, things were there. Initially, I'd put them all in my front driveway and cover them up with tarps, thinking that would be good. But I live in a private neighborhood with CC&Rs. Those are rules and regulations that tells you whether your drain cover, drain cutter is 2 degrees too low or too high, whether you can have purple curtains or pink curtains, whether your color is. It's nice to have CC&Rs because people sometimes get a little overboard, and they'll suddenly put in a 100-foot boat on a small lot next to your neighbor, and your neighbor sees nothing but the hull of the boat every day, or they park 14 cars on their front lawn. Yeah, CCRs are important. I like that. But I was telling them those things. Meanwhile, they had all these people that day they met when he followed me and had me come home and insist to go there, and they're all waiting there. And they're taking my children out of school. Already they were trying to do that. They can talk to your children without your permission, by the way. They can talk to your children without your permission. And they say, well, we do that so the parents don't coach them. Well, CPS coaches them. They put ideas in the kids' heads. They also promise them things. Oh, we'll give you a guy that will be a buddy system to you. I mean, they'll buy you lunches and dinners and stuff. CPS is terrible about what they do with the kids. And my children that were in a group home were told never to hug your parents. Look your eyes down. Don't look at them in the face. Put your hands at your side. And it was terrible. What they did to our family is it took away their youth. My son is 24, my daughter's 21, and my young son's 18. And 7 years ago, one was in high school, one was in middle school, and one was in elementary school. And the Boy Scouts, there is a good organization. And yes, they've gone through changes. You don't call it the Boy Scouts anymore. You call it scouting, because now girls and the boys are together. And I don't know how well it's working because I've been out of scouting. I've been an adult leader, but I've been out since my son's was so turned off to scouting because of CPS. They had monitor times because I was with them because I was always doing my scouting activities as a parent involved with the scouting program. I'd backpack with my sons. We would build things. They learned so much in scouting. They learned it's a wonderful organization. Scouting is for both men and girls, and it's a fine program. But they ruined it because they did crazy things. All the boys are wondering, well, who's that strange lady in the background staring at you, or dad, or looking at your dad. See right away, CPS, the monitors, foster care, the group homes have a negative impression of your family. Um, they have built-in impressions. If anybody makes allegation, it's true until it's proven innocent. And then again, it got proven innocent in the end, but ended up losing our family. And now, even though I've been out of it for 4 years, my family's experiencing more problems with it. My son, who's 24, sad to say, and it's very, very sad to say, that he didn't finish his senior year in college. And he was an excellent student, doing A's and B's, and he got a job working at a space company in the summer that paid him quite well. Yeah, he was studying things, robotic engineering, computer science. He had a STEM background in high school where he took a science class, an engineering class, technology class, a math class. He had calculus, he had AP classes. And so my young son's doing a similar thing. But my old son dropped out in his senior year. Dropped out. And I said, well, you can come home. I mean, I'm paying rent. I used to own a home, a beautiful home, and that's a whole nother story. I was sad to lose. And it's CPS that helped me lose that home. I can thank them for the millions of dollars they had me lose in life. And where are they now? Where are they now? Still doing the same bad things as this people from Illinois who texted to me and talked to me and said that we've gone to 2 attorneys. And what do you do? Well, you have to keep trying. One thing is never give up hope. You never want to give up hope uh, to resolve the issues. Never give up hope. Um, things may look so bad. And I certainly am glad I'm not a politician and have to go through what's going through with the politicians these days. But one of the politicians is not giving up hope. One of the politicians is still going ahead. And no matter how much they tear him apart or what he did or didn't do or what he alleges he did or whatever, he still's got the public support. I don't know how he's doing it, but he still has. But um, what we need is that we need representation, and you need to talk to your state representatives and you need to talk to your federal representatives who can go and make changes to the CPS. For instance, they got to make a system where the judges have to be qualified to hold the spot, not just because they're a lawyer. And I'm not against lawyers. I mean, lawyers are important there, but some of the lawyers are ambulance chasers. What I mean by that is that they go say, well, look what this person got me $2 million for bodily injury. So they go and they sue somebody excessively. And, they win cases. There's so much money involved. It's unbelievable. So uh, we have to get good representation so to make the changes. We need to think of ideas of how to make a CPS. When someone calls in a complaint, they need to put it maybe in writing so that none of the words get lost in the translation. Verbal complaints are an easy way to do things. And yeah, I sometimes get lazy and I do a lot of verbal things. But nothing's better than a written documentation. So I think before social services or CPS can act on it, they need to have it in writing. Now, if it's a life threat thing, they need to call, not CPS, call 911. If you know that a child is being whipped to death or that's being hurt or mutilated, you call 911. That activates the system which alerts the police. And let the police see firsthand what's going on. And I think people, when they're told to get in writing, will be a little bit more hesitant about doing so, because family members can be good, but they also can be bad. And there's a lot of jealousy goes in there. And in my wife's case, ever since I married her from day one, they didn't like her being married. She was like in her late 20s. And I was in my, oh, geez, 15 years younger, or older. So I was in my mid 40s or something, or whatever there. And so we're 15 years apart. And when the family members call in and make stories like, "Oh, they're not bathed, or they not their room's a mess," how do they know? How do they know? Did they visit? Do they really know? Instead of maybe a family member saying, "Hey, how can we help? We're here. You lost your job. I tell you what. Here's $100 to get groceries, or I'll pay your next electric bill, or pay." No one steps forward when you lose a job. You know, the EDD, they're corrupt too. That's a whole different story. Um, Recently, when I was laid off, recently here, I supposedly had a program where if my hours got reduced to no less than 20 hours a week, they would step in and make the difference. I could still be hired with these people. Well, then I got nothing from them. They owe me over 10 weeks of back EDD payments that they never paid. And uh, uh, I'm talking firsthand experience, by the way. This isn't come up from here from somebody, not hearsay. This is firsthand. And we have a trouble. We have a trouble there. We have trouble with our older people not being looked after. I mean, in Europe, it's nice. They don't mind having mom or dad live with their kids and taking care of them. But over here, our culture's definitely a me, me, me world. And I don't mean to say that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with making $1 million. I'm not against sports people making millions of dollars and stuff like that, even though a lot of them are suffering. Um, yeah, it's really there's a lot of different things going on, but we need to change. We need to change how CPS treats the people, how it investigates the cases. Um, we need, they have these limitations. Supposedly, they have 45 days to investigate in California, but in our case, they took forever. And they say within a year the case is resolved. Well, they don't want to make it a year because how they're going to make money. And they should hire experienced social workers, people that have been around the block, people that have families, and pay them good. You know, hiring young people to take advantage because they're young and paying them less is not the solution. Of all important things, the school teachers, policemen, and social workers should be paid a lot more than they are being paid. The teachers are the teacher students. If you want accountability, then pay them right, and they will have accountability. Same thing with the policemen. Pay them right. Show them respect. Same thing with social workers. Um, it's like uh, I feel like I am an outsider in this country anymore. I feel like if I just left the country, renounced my citizenship, and come across the border, I would be suddenly eligible for food stamps and health care. The kids would go to school. It's like it's not fair what's happened to us here. And yes, I'm having a hard time in life because it's supposed to be my golden years. And I had put money aside, but unfortunately, the money in that market in 2007 took a dive, and the people invested in my funds screwed me over. Um, you name it, I've had it. Except I've had no worse crimes, but I've had the dealings with predator loans, and the predator loan was terrible. Oh my God, that was so bad. They go behind the scenes and actually physically change your salary. They go in to work up the documents so they get a bonus. And the same thing goes for CPS. Behind the scenes, they are making reaps and reaps of money off these people, and we got to stop it. So, getting a judge elected. Right now, we're in the primaries. We don't elect judges, but in November, I want you all to go out and vote. If you're 18 or older, you can vote, and you need to find a judge that has a background in family law, that has, that knows and cares about family. Is a family man. I think family men and family women make good lawyers, good attorneys, good judges, and it's both men and women. There's no question about that. And if you all just tuned in now, this is the show presented by Vincent W. Davis. I'm Bob Pace, your host. The number to call in is 888-888-6582. And as you listen, feel free to type in anything, and I'll try to answer your questions. Also, you need to call in to ask to be a guest speaker, and we'll schedule your time. Or if you want to know about strategies, how to fight CPS and win, our attorney, Vincent W. Davis, will give you 30 minutes up to an hour of his time to deal with strategies of how you get back there. And there's a little bullet that's going to the bottom of the screen that tells you about the calendar of his to see if he's available. And so go to that website and check his availability. And he will definitely help you. There's no question about that. Well, we have about 10 minutes left of our show. And I see no more comments come in. And hopefully we'll have a guest speaker on our next time we do our show. But that's always a good thing. I am happy to one point because sometimes talking about things is therapeutic. I mean, you get a chance to vent a little bit. You get a chance to maybe analyze what you're saying or talk about or think about what you're talking. I think it's very important to have strong families, strong families, and you need to keep your family together. When you marry someone or settle down with someone, it's a lifelong commitment. This is something that you can just turn the key and turn off, or it's so easy to get divorced. It's like recyclable differences. Oh boy, I'm having trouble with words today. Uh, anyway, you can get a divorce by just asking for it. It's like, and I think there should be a law that says you have to go seek counseling so many times of that. You have to take classes, things before you get divorced. Divorce is too easy to do these days. Everybody wants to get a divorce, but it's hard. Marriage is a hard obstacle, especially finances, because each you perceive different things, and there's hiccups in life, and one of them is CPS. And CPS that I've yet to hear about a good CPS office or how they do things. I love the model that CPS is off if it works for people, because I don't hear any success stories. It's like I hear them. They're just bad up in Ventura. The other day they're talking about Ventura, and a mother had to drive an hour and a half, 2 hours almost to see her child and come back home from. That's that terrible. And the parents are willing to do all these things. Parents will complete classes. They'll do anger management. They'll do all kinds of things so they get their children back. I know parents are good out there. And the parents that maybe have done some bad things or bad judgments, those things can be corrected through counseling, through therapists and so forth like that. It could be on there because we, it's a circle of life. And what I mean by a circle of life is that we start out as a child and we, of course, end our life as a child. And you probably say, well, what do you mean end as a child? Well, we have to go to rest homes and we are given diapers again in our later adult life and stuff like that because physical limitations. But it's a circle of life. But while we're here, we want to contribute something. I want to be known is that, yeah, Bob Pace is a good guy. He did this and this and that. I mean, I gave over 50 years to the American Red Cross and as a volunteer in disaster and teaching classes in first aid and safety and small craft. That's my way of giving back to the society. I was in a military family for 18 years, but no, I did not serve. And at the time it was a very difficult time. And my dad, who was in the service, a high-ranking officer in the service and everything, told me best to stay in college and get your college degree. And the war was not declared, and so I didn't go in there. I'm talking about the Vietnam War. And so many of my friends and so forth like that died. There's so many people that die for a country, and so it may sound really bad where we're at in life, but all you have to do is look at Ukraine and Israel and see what those people are going through. Um, uh, it is terrible that the people, among themselves are bickering. It's a terrible thing. So we got to keep uh, uh, going here. We have a name here, Ryan. Okay, I noticed that I was the only white person in the courthouse that didn't work there. My children are mixed. Um, that's okay. You see, I want to know how to file lawsuits against CPS and caseworkers when they go wrong. Well, that's not too hard to do. You need to get an attorney, and some attorneys do it pro bono, meaning that if they win their case, they will do that. That's a good question you called in about or wrote in about. Um, the um, file a lawsuit is it's a civil matter, and you want to see is it your constitutional rights were violated. In my case, I'm a good candidate to have a civil lawsuit because my caseworker lied, and um, they um, did not they did do my constitutional rights were violated. I had no visitations with my daughter when she was taken from me, not even monitored visitations. So at the age of 12, that's the last time I saw my daughter. She's 21 now, and she's divorced from her children. But yes, you go to the court. You first got to get an attorney. You will not be able to fight CPS because they're rich and it takes money to fight money. So you got to have money and you got to get an attorney. And some of the attorneys will fight in your case. You need to weed them out. You need to go through and find out how many years they've been doing, how many cases they won. Vincent W. Davis has fought CPS and has won. Um, uh, but it takes money, and that's one of the things that holds me back. If I had my $1 million back that CPS has taken from me, I'd use every cent of it to fight CPS because what they're doing is wrong. It's not only to me, to everybody. I, file the lawsuit. It's not that hard to do. It does take money, and it will take some of your time, but they can be sued, and it's there's constitutional rights that are yours. So if they were violated, those are grounds you can't. If they lie in court, they can be held accountable. My social worker lied in court in front of the judge, and they can be taken to lawsuit. And lawsuits have been won against, especially the ones here in Orange County, against CPS. They have been won, and they have been awarded. The one in LA, I know that for a fact of cases that have won in there. So they can be done. So I appreciate the listener who texted me that message about how do I do a lawsuit? Can I do a lawsuit? Yes, you can. It's a civil lawsuit. It's a civil matter. It's no longer, and that's the thing is, you'll find out that laws that are broken, sometimes have to be settled in civil court, property damage and stuff like that. I think one of the most notoriety cases is the O.J. Simpson trial. He was not guilty in the criminal matters, but in civil court, he was found guilty and he had to pay for it. And of course, he's paid for it in many ways than one. But I'm not going to talk about the pros and cons of politics there. I try to stay away from politics. It's hard not to in this world. But I appreciate all you people that are taking time to listen to me because hopefully I've touched something that is helpful to you because you are an important person out there. You're a human being that's trying to make it in this crazy world we live in. Our world is so volatile. There's so much going on in there. But long as you stick to your convictions, and these are convictions that are good, then I think that you'll go far in that circle of life. Because we all want to remember, what did we contribute there? What were we known for contributing? Not the negative things, but the good things. I think the people have gone down there. I think when you have a Hitler or a Mussolini, or even those kind of leaders that have gone by the wayside, and we're bringing up leaders, there have been a lot of awful ones. Charles Manson's another one. He was gone there, and the latest guy, that child predator guy that now they're opening up documents about him, he was another guy, and he made it easy on us by taking his own life. But anyway, this will conclude our show time. Again, this show is presented by Vincent W. Davis. He is a trial attorney, family law attorney with excellent background. He can do your case in CPS, or he can do a civil trial against CPS. His number is 888-888-6582, and you can call in there. Also, we'd love to hear from you as a guest speaker. Keep your children safe and don't give up fighting CPS. This is Bob Pace signing off, and Happy New Year, and may the new year bring you much success and happiness.